Clearing the Wanamingo mine from Fallout 2. Mayor Escorti of Redding is the kind of salesman who could sell a drowning man a submarine ticket, and the deed to the great Wanamingo mine is his masterpiece pitch. $1,000, he says. The richest mine in town, he says. One small catch. It's completely overrun with Wanamingos, which is the game's way of saying alien-looking creatures that are far out of your league. So you buy the deed, because of course you do, and now the mine is technically your problem. Getting inside is its own adventure and questionable decisions, because the most direct route, the cargo elevator in the ruined mine camp, drops you directly into the Queen's chamber. The Queen is the hardest enemy on the level. She has so much health and deals a good amount of damage, and she's the first face you see when the elevator opens, before you've had a single second to scout, prepare, or reconsider your life choices. Targeted shots to the eyes and legs are the recommended strategy, which sounds manageable until your entire stim pack supply starts dissolving in real time and you realize you really just can't. And she's only the beginning. After that, it's a long, dark march through corridor after corridor of Wanamingos, all of which need to die before the quest registers as complete, including the ones burrowed into tunnels below the mine camp and under downtown Redding. One bad roll means instant death. The community's consensus advice is to come back later when you're stronger, which is technically correct, and also the most painful thing anyone has ever said about a video game. The entire Dead Money DLC from Fallout New Vegas. There are Steam guides dedicated entirely to preparing for Dead Money, which tells you everything you need to know before you've even set foot inside. Father Elijah, a former Brotherhood of Steel elder who lost his chapter at the Battle of Helios 1, spent years obsessing over the Sierra Madre, a casino so legendary and so cursed that it never even opened, because the bombs fell the day before the grand opening gala. The security holograms activated, the guests couldn't escape, and what should have been the greatest casino in the West became a very glamorous tomb. Years later, the climate control systems started leaking strange toxins into the surrounding city, a red cloud that kills anyone who breathes it in for too long, and somewhere in all of that mess, Elijah decided this was the perfect weapon delivery system, and that you were the perfect person to help him crack the vault. You wake up with a collar around your neck that explodes if it gets too close to a radio signal. Your gear is gone. The companions he saddled you with are a feral super mutant, a woman who can't speak, and Dean Domino, who is actively working against you. And the cloud is everywhere. Never did anyone feel so vulnerable, especially at that high of a level, because Dead Money strips out every crutch the base game handed you and replaces them with scarcity, radiation, and collar-related anxiety. After 100 deaths, and what feels like an infinite number of save files, struggling to get over half health, you start to understand what Elijah meant about letting go. Even the people who love this DLC admit it's supposed to be hard and frustrating. The ones who don't love it have snapped at least one controller. Reilley's Rangers from Fallout 3. Most Fallout 3 quests start with someone walking up and dumping a marker on your Pip-Boy. This one starts with you needing to pass a Speech 78 or Medicine 60 check just to wake the quest giver up. Reilley is lying unconscious in a ghoul hospital inside the Museum of History, and unless you can talk Dr. Barrows into reviving her or do it yourself, the quest doesn't exist. Once she's awake, she tells you her squad is stranded on the roof of the Statesman Hotel in Vernon Square, essentially the worst neighborhood in the capital wasteland. Super mutants everywhere, centaurs in the hallways, and the Rangers themselves had the bright idea of booby-trapping their own escape route on the way out. So as you push through Our Lady of Hope Hospital, you're dodging pressure plates and tripwire-rigged grenade bouquets set by the people you're literally trying to rescue. Thanks, guys. Then you cross to the Statesman Hotel by walking across a toppled construction crane like you're on the world's most unsafe Ninja Warrior course. Inside is multiple floors of collapsed flooring, locked doors, and a broken elevator you can't even use to leave the lobby. And here's the part that has soft-locked entire playthroughs. The elevator on the roof needs a fission battery to repair, and if you lose the only one available, a single battery and a broken protectron, the elevator becomes permanently unfixable, and you're stuck on the roof in Vernon Square forever. Hope you like the view. Then there's the generator on the roof. One stray shot during the final assault and every ranger turns hostile. The quest fails, and you're picking through their corpses for whatever loot you can get. And if Brick dies in the lobby fight on the way out, you lose access to geomapping, the actual cap printer this quest unlocks. The combat itself is the easy part. Everything around the combat, the traps, the consumable battery, the trigger-happy generator, the survival of 5 named NPCs, is what makes this one of the most fragile quests in the game. Open Season from Fallout 4, Nuka World. The pitch for Open Season is deceptively simple. Kill the Raider gang leaders, free the traitors, save the park. What the quest doesn't mention up front is that killing the first leader immediately makes every single raider in Nuka World hostile. All of them simultaneously, including Shank, who was supposed to be your homeboy. Nisha, Mags Black, William Black, Mason, 4 leaders across 4 locations, and the moment the first one drops, you become the most wanted person in a theme park full of raiders who are numerous, level scaled to match you, and built like tanks with guns. 80 or more named and unnamed gang members stand between you and completion, and that number doesn't include the stragglers who keep appearing after you think you've cleared an area. The level scaling is significant in Nuka World in a way that turns the moral path into a war of attrition, and the bosses themselves are bullet sponges, every one of them demanding enough ammunition to stock an actual military operation. On survival mode, players describe it as not fun, a grind that actively locks you out of content if you can't stomach the sheer volume of it. Reilley announces your betrayal on Raider Radio the moment it all kicks off, which is a genuinely great detail, and then you spend the next hour wondering why the game decided that doing the right thing required killing this many people who are, individually, each a killer. Destroy the source of the mutants in Fallout 1. Finding Mariposa Military Base is hard enough on its own. It sits far to the northwest of the map, in territory patrolled by Unity kill teams carrying miniguns, laser rifles, and rocket launchers, and the desert between you and it is the game's way of warming you up for what comes next. The question that still fills threads isn't how to beat it, it's what to do to prepare for it, because showing up underleveled bricks, you're run in ways that are extremely difficult to recover from. Outside the base, 4 mutants stand guard, and the only way past them cleanly is a radio trick that draws 3 away while you loot the door code off the one that stays, or hoping Katja can pick the lock before anyone notices you exist. Inside, if you're not wearing robes, the alarm triggers immediately, and 4 more come running, 2 with miniguns, 2 with rocket launchers, and the force fields on the second level are their own separate problem requiring repair skill, correct timing, and explosives placed in exactly the right hexagon. The lieutenant on level 4 has 310 hit points, a Gatling laser, and shoots you on sight if you wander into his office unescorted. The VATS control terminal requires enough science skill to decrypt it, or a keycard from one of the technicians nearby, or explosives planted directly at the terminal. And if you already killed the lieutenant before reaching it, the technicians commit ritual self-delete the moment you try to talk to them. Classic Fallout 1, players still call this one of the hardest main quests in the franchise, and they're not wrong. Hard Luck Blues from Fallout New Vegas. What starts as a water contamination complaint from a farmer turns into the hardest vault you've encountered. And the hardest vault you've encountered happens to be underwater, radioactive, and full of feral ghouls around every single corner. Morgan Blake at the NCR Sharecropper Farms asks you to look into why the crops are failing, which sends you to the East Pump Station, which sends you to a mountain full of nuclear waste barrels, which sends you to Vault 34, a place that had severe overpopulation problems and resolved them by turning everyone into ghouls. The layout is constricted, sections of it are literally submerged, and the radiation never stops. Even with maxed radiation resistance, you're still taking at least 1 rad per second at all times, because the cap is 85% and Vault 34 is the other 15%'s time to shine. The Overseer waiting behind his locked door is a boss-type creature with very high health who immediately engages you alongside 2 Vault Tech turrets. And while you're dealing with that, at least 2 ghouls spawn behind you in the only corridor you have to retreat through because why not? And all of this, the flooded corridors, the glowing ones, the Overseer, the science checks, the passwords you have to loot from underwater ghoul corpses, is in service of a quest that turns a simple fetch mission into a survival nightmare and then hands you an ethics exam at the end. You either doom the sharecroppers or doom the vault dwellers. Neither choice affects your karma, by the way. Those, from Fallout 3. At first glance, Those is a simple quest about giant fire ants in a Grey Ditch neighborhood. In practice, it's a 30-minute exercise in keeping a single fragile NPC alive long enough for him to hand you a perk. The quest starts with a boy named Brian Wilkes running up to you near Super Duper Mart asking you to find his dad. His dad is dead. The fire ants got him, and the source of the infestation is a scientist named Dr. Lesko in a Marigold Metro Station lab. Talking to Lesko unlocks the actual quest. Kill the Nest Guardians without harming the Queen, and he'll give you a perk, plus his irradiated lab coat. Which sounds reasonable until you realize Lesko has the survival instincts of a balloon in a cactus warehouse. If a single fire ant is anywhere near his lab when you exit dialogue, he flees, gets killed instantly, and the perks are gone from the entire playthrough. If you lie to him about killing the protectors when you haven't, he runs into the hatchery and just spontaneously drops dead. Bring a companion into the hatchery, and they'll auto-attack the Queen and break the optional objective for you. And the Queen herself has a habit of spawning directly on top of the player in the cave tunnel, where she gets stuck and blocks the exit. Then there's Brian. Once you've cleared the ants, you have to find him a home, and every decision is permanent. Tell the mayor of Little Lamplight first, and the Vera Weatherly option locks forever. Tell Brian you won't help, and you can never offer again, even if you change your mind later. And if you do go the Vera route, she occasionally just doesn't spawn at all, which means the good karma ending is randomly unavailable through no fault of your own. The combat is trivial, and the puzzles barely exist. What makes those hard is the developers gated every good reward behind one of the most fragile NPCs in the game, then layered on a series of decisions the game pretends you can never reconsider. Cappy in a Haystack from Fallout 4 Nuka World. The hidden Cappies are paintings on concrete walls scattered across 6 different zones of Nuka World, invisible without a specific pair of novelty sunglasses equipped, and the quest markers disappear when you get close enough that you'd theoretically be able to spot them. This is by design. The whole premise is that you're helping a Nuka-Cola obsessive named Sierra Petrovita hunt down 10 hidden images in an abandoned theme park, crawling with deathclaws and raiders, wearing gag glasses that don't work under power armor, chasing markers that vanish precisely when you actually need them. Players have called it the most stressful thing in the game, with a sincerity that is honestly impressive, given that this is also a game where you get kidnapped by a superintelligence and dropped into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The payoff, after all 10 Cappies are found and the code, refreshing, is entered into Brad Burton's office keypad, is an elevator ride down to a small vault containing the severed, still-living head of John Caleb Brad Burton, the inventor of Nuka-Cola, who has been kept alive by machinery for centuries and is very much not okay with it. He asks you to pull the plug, Sierra asks you not to. So after spending an hour being deliberately lost in a theme park full of things trying to kill you, the quest ends with a euthanasia decision about a disembodied head in a jar. Without question, this is the worst quest in the game. And those were Fallout's hardest quests explained. Which one gave you the most trouble? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.